Hey, leaders, we've often shared in our connections and in our different recordings that we do that as leaders, we don't need to take it all on ourselves. We don't have to adopt that superhero complex
Yeah.
that I know so many of us, and myself included, do when first starting out trying to be everything to everyone. But we want to try and get to a place within our organizations when we're relying upon lead teams, whether we refer to that as lead teams, steering teams, guiding coalitions, leadership councils,
Mhm.
so critically important for us within our school. So we're going to talk a little bit about why lead teams are so critically important, and then give a number of different examples to be able to consider and some lessons learned in utilization of those teams.
So we love the idea of having a lead team, and I think the first thing that pops into my mind when we are talking about this is the ability to be able to create that collaborative culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is intensely important that we provide lots of avenues for the teachers in your building to engage in leadership. And it might not be formal leadership,
Mhm.
but those informal leadership opportunities that begin developing skill and could lead to some formal opportunities.
Well, and really what you're doing is what James Spillane used to describe or has talked about as distributed leadership.
Yeah.
How do we create that distributed leadership within our school so that the uh, um, comings and goings of the school is not reliant on a person or a leadership team, but that we've spread that through the organization and again, really trying to emphasize the idea that we want to foster and create leaders within our organization, that we want to continue to build up those skill sets of all within the school so that it just continues to help us grow as a learning organization.
So there are so many different ways that we can establish a lead team, and it can be you can have multiple lead teams in your school too, depending on what the areas of priority are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think too that um, giving people opportunity to engage, possibly due to interest. Maybe they have interest in pursuing some more formal leadership positions, as you said.
Mhm.
Maybe it's interest because we're engaging in a major initiative as part of our school development plan. And this person either has some exceptional expertise in that particular area or a real passion to be able to see it grow. I think one more
Yeah,
why that's critical with the lead teams is that it gives us a integrated feedback loop
absolutely.
cycle that is
Yeah.
so critically important. So I think of one team that I had noted in a school that had their leadership, their admin,
Yeah.
and then had a member from each grade level
Yeah.
that was on this lead team. And it was because they were implementing collaborative response as a school and said this team's coming together every month to discuss and determine what's going well, what do we need to adjust, what are we hearing out there from our colleagues. Another team that I saw, they were intentionally building feedback
Mhm.
mechanisms such as surveys, resources, coming, looking at that information, and then making ongoing shifts and adjustments as they went.
Yeah, and that feedback opportunity is huge because as that sole Superman leader,
Hmm.
you don't always have the chance to be able to hear what's actually happening in the field and
Yeah.
on the ground. Whereas when you have a lead team, you've got people coming who are teachers who are talking to their colleagues all the time
Yeah.
and really have a very good sense about what's actually happening
Yeah,
in
almost
classrooms.
the feel. What's the
Yeah.
feel out there that's so critically important?
So I think an example of this is what we did in our school a long time ago around what we called action planning teams. And these action planning teams were intended to be able to come together to focus on um, our school improvement plans, the priority in our school improvement plan.
So every staff member with that would select or determine and give us a sense of which priority areas in our school improvement plan they were interested in helping to move forward. Then we would create those teams and try to honor the interest levels, but then also understanding team composition,
Yeah.
really important. How do we get diversity of expertise within these teams to then really take the lead on different portions of our school development plan. So I think of a school that both of us were in Calgary here in the last
Mhm.
year, where they had three key priorities in their school development plan: a literacy goal, a numeracy goal, and a well-being. Was focused on student resiliency. Well,
Yeah.
then they had a team within the school that was leading that. But then one of the things that we did is we'll be right back to continue this episode. I often hear leaders remark that collaborative time is established for teams in their schools, but they are looking for ways to ensure that time is meaningful and focused. Often, the first reaction is a perceived need to be consistently present to help provide leadership and support. However, when effectively established, focus for the time can be accomplished without the need for a leader to micromanage or devalue the professionalism of those around the table. Join me for the online workshop, Creating Focus for Collaborative Planning Without Micromanaging Your Teams, part of our Supporting Collaborative Response series. This on-demand workshop, I will share why focus for collaborative planning is critical and how it can be accomplished without a leader needing to be consistently setting the agenda or needing to be consistently involved. Purchase the workshop and you'll also have the ability to replay all or any portion of the workshop as you wish. I will also be sharing numerous resources, templates, and samples to help support your team planning. Register today to learn more about this critical collaborative structure integral within a school's collaborative response. And now back to our conversation. One of the things that we did is created then one representative from each of those
Mhm.
teams who would meet as a steering team to coordinate where are we at with each one of these priorities. And I think what was key for this from a leadership perspective is not only are you building up the leadership expertise within the school, but as a leader, I'm not having to be in every one of those
Right.
conversations feeling like it has to be micromanaged.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you give people opportunities to build their leadership skills
Hmm.
within those small teams, but then having the chance to be able to come together as a lead team with admin to
Hmm.
talk about what are the improvements we need to make or what are our next steps. And to again have that level of collaboration that you're building in within your school improvement planning.
So one of the lessons learned from that was getting crystal clarity of what is the purpose of this steering team. So
Mhm.
within that, for us, one of the purposes was to coordinate and determine professional learning direction for the school in relation to our school improvement plan. So when we would come together, we would intentionally discuss what have we done as teams, what have we learned, and what are our next steps. And we might have a team that would say, on the next PD day, we'd really like to have 90 minutes because we'd like to go through with staff
Mhm.
this particular area. Or you remember the one when we were focusing on establishing school-wide behavior, effective behavior supports within the school. We had had a team that had gathered information and then wanted to bring back to the whole staff what were some of the resources that they had taken the lead on developing and getting some feedback on and leading a conversation. All of a sudden, they were leading and facilitating in their teams different parts of our professional learning days that they had helped sculpt and determine the format or focus for, which was incredibly important.
And again, helping to move the school improvement planning forward. It's functional.
100%. Well, and I think then and this will not be a surprise to anyone, of not only being crystal clear on the purpose, but then the format.
Yeah.
So that we had a really clear agenda. People knew ahead of time, when you come as part of our lead team, this is what we're intended to do. Here's how we will follow up. And we've seen a number of schools, will include some samples in the show notes that then have infused this into their overall school team meeting overview that says, here are the different teams we have, when do they meet, who's involved, and what's its purpose, to then be able to show alignment, connection, and all of these multiple layers are working in unison to move our school improvement plan forward.
So again, being able to put those lead teams in place, whatever their focus is, whether it's driving collaborative response forward or whether it's driving your school improvement planning forward, great advantage in building leadership skills within your school, and a beautiful avenue for providing feedback, and which comes right from the field, right from the ground, that allows you to make good decisions about moving forward.
Well, and I'm thinking of one friend who's a principal who was lamenting that every year it seems that some key staff members of his school are moving on or taking on assistant principal roles in other schools. And it came back to that realization of, that's because you're building such strong leadership in what you're doing. You are actually having tremendous impact on the system, even though it may feel like you've got some key people moving on to their next steps along the way. I really do think our role as leaders is to develop more leaders.
Leaders, for sure. I was recently talking with a leader who had said that because she had so many levels of feedback coming from those lead teams, that anything that they were moving forward on then was often in response to feedback that came from the teachers themselves. And so there became this avenue or a area of trust, or a community of trust among them, because feedback would come forward to the lead team and there would be a response.
So, and what comes when I'm hearing that right to my mind is that culture of collaboration, that idea of this is our school moving forward, rather than this is the principal's plan that we're moving forward. Those are two very, very different or indicate two very different modes of operation within our school.
And again, really being able to drive that culture of collaboration forward because you've given lots of opportunities for leadership.
Absolutely. So as noted, we will include some further resources to be able to investigate within the show notes. And as always, we would love to hear what you've done to enable and empower lead teams within your schools, what that looks like, and some of your lessons learned as well. So with that, we hope there's been some value that you're able to take from this, and we wish you all the best as you continue to move forward.
See you soon.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. We'll see you on the next episode.